Program, B.S. English. Course, 18th Century Novel. Topic, Joseph Andrews as a Comic Epic in Prose. Prepared by Dr. Shahryar Khan. Question. Discuss Henry Fielding's novel Joseph Andrews as a comic epic in prose. Introduction. An epic is a long narrative poem that tells a heroic tale. In his preface to Joseph Andrews, Henry Fielding asserts that Homer is known today because of his two serious epics, that is, Iliad and Odyssey. But Homer also wrote a comic epic, though that epic is now lost. Fielding says that he intends to revive that genre of comic epic. His experimental fiction would contain all the elements of an epic, like fable, action, characters, sentiments, and diction, but it would be in prose and not in verse. Therefore, he would call it a comic epic in prose. Such a piece of writing would be different from traditional comedy, as its action would be more extended and comprehensive, containing a much larger circle of incidents, and introducing a greater variety of characters. Its theme would not be serious like a traditional epic and would deal with ridiculous and absurd elements. The characters would not be great kings, princes, or warriors, but ordinary men. To summarize his argument, Fielding wanted to introduce a new kind of writing which would be similar to traditional epic with respect to its action and characters. The tone, however, is light, humorous, satirical, and ironical. This comic epic in prose would have a serious moral purpose, though. This moral purpose would be revealed through ridiculing the affected manners of people and classes. Fielding was justified in calling this a new kind of writing, as this had never been attempted in English language before. Point 1. How is Joseph Andrews a comic epic in prose? Firstly, as mentioned by Fielding in his preface, a comic epic in prose requires a variety of characters and extended action. The narrative of Joseph Andrews includes a journey from London to rural England, and most of the action takes place on the road. The journey has also allowed the writer to introduce a number of characters. Because of this travel motif, the novel is often compared to Homer's epic poem Odyssey. In Odyssey, the hero Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, incurs the wrath of sea god Poseidon. Poseidon does not allow him to travel to his home and creates many hurdles and aggression to thwart his journey. As Joseph Andrews is a comic epic, the incidents in it are ridiculous and absurd. Joseph does not incur the wrath of a deity like Poseidon, but that of his mistress Lady Booby. As a result, he has to leave her home and set on a journey to reach his village. On his way, he meets many incidents and characters. Fielding parodies the plot of Odyssey but gives it a comic twist. The adventures of Odysseus are grand, perilous, and full of wonder and awe. On the other hand, the adventures of Joseph Andrews are often comic, absurd, and humorous. Point 2. Classical epic poems like Iliad and Odyssey have glorious fights and battles. Great warriors exhibit their skills and courage in these combats. In Iliad, we have the fight between Achilles and Hector. In Odyssey, we have confrontation between Odysseus and the suitors. In Joseph Andrews, we also have an epic battle scene. This scene is between Adams and Joseph on one side and hounds on the other. This scene is an example of how Fielding has adapted epic elements for his own comic purposes. The description of the scene parodies the style of classical epics, but what makes it humorous is the fact that it is not a grand fight between great heroes but between a priest and a boy on one side and hounds on the other. When Parson Adams tries to run away from the fight, the writer comments that this does not prove him to be a coward, as classical epics also depict such scenarios in which the heroes, at one time or the other, flee to save their skin. This is a direct reference to Fielding's inspiration for this scene. Point 3. Another epic feature appropriated by Fielding is the use of digressions. The classical epics were primarily oral. When these poems were narrated or sung in the presence of an audience, the narrators or singers would add many extra incidents to amuse and attract their listeners. In time, these became an essential part of epic poems. Digression is a literary device used by poets and writers. It is a story which is inserted in the main narrative. Apparently, it does not have any connection with the main narrative. Its basic purpose is to withhold information and create suspense. Fielding has also used digression in Joseph Andrews as an indirect commentary on the main plot. There are three major digressions in Joseph Andrews: History of Leonora, Mr. Wilson's Tale, and the Story of Leonard and Paul. These digressions comment upon the main action and characters in the novel. For example, the story of Leonora and Bellarmine is about the infidelity of Leonora. Through her character, the writer wants us to see how Fanny is faithful to Joseph. Fielding has used this epic tradition to reveal more aspects of his characters. Point 4. The theme of classical epics is men involved in heroic action. Through this action, the epic highlights the heroic qualities of its characters. In the preface of the novel, Fielding states that his purpose is to ridicule affectation and hypocrisy in the society. He says that sources of affectation are vanity and hypocrisy. In the stagecoach scene, the lady acts shocked to see Joseph naked and says that she cannot allow him to travel with her. The writer comments that all this time, she was looking at the body of Joseph through her hand fan. Lady Booby, Mrs. Slipslop, Mr. Toworth, Parson Trulliber and many others are exposed by the writer as vain and hypocritical. Fielding has a specific purpose in mind. He wants his readers to see that the people who pose to be morally superior have, in fact, double standards. Comic epic in prose has a serious didactic message. Conclusion. To conclude, we can say that Fielding has practiced his theory of comic epic in prose in Joseph Andrews. He has manipulated and appropriated the principles of classical epic for his own purposes. He wanted to experiment with a new genre and use it to convey a serious message. It is true that the novel is not as grand and extended as an epic is. The characters and action also have a limited scope. But Fielding never intended to write a proper epic. He just used some of the features and devices of epic to ridicule affectation and hypocrisy in his society. Within his stated purview, he proved himself successful. Maynard Mack has summarized Fielding's stance in these words. As Fielding's preface shows, he was quick to see that the tradition of mock heroic offered one of the best positions from which to underscore those modes of the ridiculous that arise from affectation.